Welcome to episode 11, everybody, of the now titled The Rick Chappell Podcast everywhere, because I realized that you should name it the same thing everywhere. Some places I had this listed as Rick Chappell Podcast, and some places I had it listed as The Rick Chappell Podcast. And the general public is lovely if they choose to listen, but silly in general. So, naming should be consistent. Hey! This week, we're weekly again. I'm on a streak 2 times long. I've got a little bit more written down this time than last time. You may remember last week we started with the kitten chaos, because when she enters the podcast, I immediately get distracted. Because that's how kittens work, man. That's the best part about kittens. Just how distractingly cute they are. But this week, there's so much to talk about, and by so much I mean not a lot. Now there's a fair amount. I've learned how to use AI. That was big, and by learned how to use, I mean Photoshop updated. So I have to click a button and I just say, "Hey AI, make this picture," and AI does. And AI is cool. It's a matter of time before it replaces all music, but music doesn't make me any fucking money anyways, so who cares if it does, right? Just more things for more people to enjoy. That said, I don't know who's going to be able to afford to make music. Except for that's already describing myself and the reality I live in. Moving on. What do I want to talk about this week? There was a crazy guy at work. Let's cut to that one. A lot of these times I end up just talking about my work here on this podcast. I work at a music store. That's because music is one of the few skills I have acquired in my 28 years so far. And, it's a fun place to work. That said, our customers are great. Our homeless people and crackheads fucking suck. So the last one we had, don't know his name. I do know he's a warlock and can walk a straight line after 12 drinks. His mother died. And he walks 19 kilometers a day. He came 3rd place in a walking contest. Broke a record by doing that. I don't know how you break a record and don't win. And he can't play the drums, even though he's gonna go play the drums. That describes the last homeless man we had. He also left and then stood outside fighting ghosts in the parking lot. And then one customer, he started swinging at him. So that was cool. Called security. They never came. End times. That same day, though, I'm pretty sure he just came because it was Welfare Wednesday. But that Wednesday, we had two, like 13-year-olds or whatever kids come in who are awesome. They're noisy and, bastards just on everything. But I had a rougher day dealing with that guy and whatnot. So I just quickly plugged in a guitar and started playing Metallica riffs in the corner. And they took the bait and came over and thought I was super cool. But in all honesty, I don't do that stuff to get a pat on the back. I do that stuff because it's really fun to play music for people that enjoy it. And kids that love Metallica love somebody to play them some Metallica riffs. So it's a perk of my job, I think, is the fact that I can have those interactions sometimes. And who knows? Maybe they search me up on Spotify and fall in love with all the jingle jangles I do. But at least that day, they had a fun time at the music store. And that is the point, right? Wow. We are 3 minutes in and I blew through the first one. The next thing to plug is a video I just made yesterday. And by yesterday, I mean I'd probably spent a week or so on it. But it was a cover of Green Day's Wake Me Up When September Ends. It's a great song, obviously. And September was ending, so that added up. But also, this podcast has no boundaries, so I just overshare. My father passed away when I was very young. I think around the same time as Billy Joe's father passed away, like around the same age. I was 9, I think he was 10 or 9, but I don't know if it's because of that, but the song hits home, of course. It's a very well-written song about a very specific experience that I think I've kind of lived through in my own way as well. And what's so crazy about that is, I don't know if everybody listens to music the same way, I don't know if everybody sees the same shade of purple. But with that song with me, I've always heard it. It's always been out. And I've always known what it's about, and the lyrics are pretty obvious. When he's like my father's come to pass, 7 years has gone so fast. You know what that means. But that said, I mean, it still hit you sometimes. For example, I remember when 7 years had come to pass for me, I was 16, because that's the math. And I vividly remember being in my car, because I could just drive at that point. You know, that's the thing you can do when you're 16 in Canada. It's awesome. Or in my part of Canada, I should say. The lawless flats, you can do it at 15 because they want you to leave. But I remember listening to that song and singing along like I had before, and it's a sad song here or there. But that line hit like a brick wall that day because, 7 years had come to pass. And it's interesting because that song will play year-round, and sometimes you have a reaction to it, and sometimes you don't. But something inside me this year was like, just record it. I had kind of thought about it a little bit, and then, actually my coworkers as well, I put it on because I've been listening to the record a lot. And then when that song came on the record, I started singing along to it at work because great part about working in a music store, nobody really minds if you're singing along to the radio and whatnot. And also, we don't listen to the radio. We put on our own good music because it's a music store and we all have great taste. Haha. But I was singing along to it, and a couple of the guys were like, dude, you should totally cover that one. And I was like, okay. Sure. And then the hardest part for me to do typically when I'm doing a cover song is like the vocals and the production and the whole recording, obviously. But the linchpin that it's all going to build on is the drums. I'm not a drummer, so I immediately have to figure out what to do about that. And the song like Wake Me Up When September Ends has a very basic drum pattern. So I can program that really without too much time or, brain damage going on. So I tempo mapped it. Turns out it's all 1 BPM, thank God. And made some drums, did some bells, played some guitar, and actually threw it together pretty quick. I'll just talk right through it. For the bass, I just watched a bass cover on YouTube while playing bass and kind of learned along with it. And then for the bass itself, I used my good old silver 75th anniversary bass. And for guitars, I used my silver 70th anniversary Strat. 75th, sorry. And yeah, they're a great pair. They match. That's cool. They also match my car, which is the reason I initially bought the Strat. There are 2 more guitars in the series if I wanted to buy a Telecaster and a jazz bass, but I'm good. I got the ones I wanted. What else? I used my Les Paul for the solo. I was going to borrow a guitar from work with P90s in it to do the solo, but I just recorded it real quick with the guitars I have, and it sounded great, so I didn't feel like redoing it, so I didn't. Also, when I recorded it, I had my kitten jumping all over me, and that's always hilarious, so if that ever happens while I'm recording, I try to film it and put it in the videos, so. Once again, remembering how hot these lights get. But yeah, that video came out yesterday, and it's got tons of views. Tons is, putting it heavy because it's the internet, and the amount of views I get is never considered tons by the internet standards. But let's give you the live update because it's gotten the most I've ever gotten in this short period of time. My YouTube channel is not booming, as you can tell by my subscriber count, so let's change that if you're watching this and haven't clicked that button just yet. Wasn't that a natural plug? Yeah, I got 282 in 23 hours, which, everything on the internet's measured in thousands or millions, so it's not a lot, but hey, celebrate the best reception you've gotten so far, right, Rick? And yeah, I'm proud of it. I think it turned out pretty well. I probably should have sung it again. Like, there's definitely some vocal parts I could do again. But like I was saying, it's not the easiest song to get through and listen to always with me, right? Like, it hits close to home. So I did it as many times as I wanted, polished it up the best I could, and put a pin on it and put it on YouTube. So yeah, go watch it if you haven't. But judging by the podcast numbers of, 60 or so a week, shout out to all y'all. And the 200 that have watched that, you've probably already seen it. So let me know what you think. Go leave a comment. The next thing I can talk about was, my boss had an open house. That was really fun. This was not bad in any way, shape, or form. But there was a great joke that I made that fell flat, I think. But let's tell the whole story of the day before we get all the way to that. My boss moved into a place way closer to our store now. He was living like way out, commuting crazy, and now he has a way better drive. And then he got married, and he's been doing all kinds of stuff. So he finally had us all over for a housewarming, post-wedding kind of shindig, and some of his friends as well that don't work with us. But I hung out with all my coworkers the whole time because they're my buddies. And we had a great time, man. Of course, being the music store guys, there's some piles of guitars in the corner, and we end up, playing songs and whatnot. And that's always a good time. That said, there was one joke I did want to highlight. There was one guy there who we were all just chit-chatting, and he was talking about how years ago, when he was growing up, he had like a vivid memory of his mom playing some video game, and he always wanted to play. He was always like, "Hey, it's my turn. Like, come on. Like, can I play the game, please?" And then, like, I guess it just never. She was always like, "Oh no, in 5 minutes," and then 20 minutes would go by, and he'd be like, "Come on, why? When's it my turn?" And then years later, he found out she would go smoke tons of weed and then come in and play the game. And those stories he remembers, she was like higher than a kite. So we're all laughing and chuckling about that. And then I'm like, oh yeah, it's like so funny when that veil comes off and you see, the past for what it is. It's like, oh my God, you were on coke the whole time? And then he was like, oh, no. And I was like, oh, sorry, man, we had different moms. And I didn't look around the room. I just kind of no-sold it, because if you look around the room, it's just sad. But I heard my boss crack up, and I was like, good. At least one person enjoyed that joke. Because if you don't laugh, it's just sad, right? We should talk about the guitar of the week, because we're still on track to play a new guitar every episode, which is ridiculous by episode 11 standards, but we're running out, so don't worry. This thing, what is this? This is a 2000 and something Ibanez RG470 that I bought for $200, I think, years and years and years ago. This was, when did I get this? I got this in high school, probably grade 11, grade 12, I think. I'm trying to remember if I moved with this guitar. I did. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, that's a good point. So I got this guitar right before I moved. And by moved, I moved out of a house that was a house and into a house that was abandoned, and only non-abandoned when we occupied it for a couple months, my mother and I. The locks didn't work and everything. It was definitely an abandoned house that we were squatting in. But yeah, it was not a great time. I had gotten this guitar for myself, I think only months or so before we were moving. And I love this guitar. I have, I think one of the first pictures or videos or memories I've got of this one. It was all black when I bought it, and I just sanded the front off to reveal the wood underneath of it. And then the top's covered with tape. No, I won't, the camera mods I'll talk about later, but I have a picture and a little video of this thing, of me playing it in the living room of said house, with just some little, like, I wonder if I can remember, it's like, some little clean riff that I was jazzing over. And I remember it was one of those moments that, if you're an artist, I'm sure you know these, and I'm sure people who aren't artists know these moments too. I just don't know in what context they happen to you. But it's just times when you just feel like you're definitely doing the thing you should be doing. And I've had them maybe annually with music. Like, it's not every time I touch a guitar, of course. But every once in a while, it just, the stars align and you kind of go, that helped, or that's the right sound for right now. And that video I have is great. I've never recorded the riff properly because I can't make it sound better than it does in this low quality little video. But yeah, I love that little improv section, and it really dropped a pin in that, awkward month and a half or whatever around high school there. Or my grad year, I should say, more specifically. But this guitar I have upgraded over the years as well. Like, it may be a $200 guitar, but the parts have now kind of become more. I won a contest the summer before grade 12 there. And by one, I mean I came 4th place, but it was international. So, hey, 4th place is top of the world. It was the EMG Zach Wild Shred contest, where you upload a video of yourself playing some Zach Wild Shred. And I was 15, I guess, or whatever at the time. Signed myself up for it, made a quick little video. And the thing I did that I guess was a little different was what I used to do to record was just use Guitar Pro, like the old tablature program that I'm sure tons of people still use. And I got Guitar Pro to learn songs. And then I quickly realized that you could write songs in it too. Like, you download tabs, but if you're downloading tabs, that means somebody's making them. So if you make them yourself, Guitar Pro had a function to be able to hit play. And it would, give you a play-along version. And it sounded terrible. It was MIDI, and the guitars all sounded like Mario, and the drums were... It was not high-resolution music. But you could write down an idea in it, hear it back to you, and then play it for your friend and be like, hey, can you learn that too? Like, me and my buddies would write songs in it and send them to each other. It was super useful. And then I learned in Guitar Pro how to export the Guitar Pro files as MIDI. And then when you do that, you could drag them into GarageBand, and then you could, make the drums sound better, and then you could use, make backing tracks for yourself. So back to the Zach Wild story. The rules were play some Zach Wild songs, and I was like, bet. So I grabbed a couple Aussie songs, a Black Label song, and cut them together in Guitar Pro, with tempo changes and everything. I just made my own tab of a thing, and then bounced it into GarageBand and put it all together. So it was Mama, I'm Coming Home, Stillborn by Black Label Society, and No More Tears. And I think the order was, it started out with... Oh, okay, no. I put the intro of Miracle Man in it. Not Miracle Man. Mr. Tinker Train. That's it. I put more thought into this than you'd imagine. So the first album that Zach Wild played with Ozzy was Mr. Tinker Train. So I put in the little opening clip of that record on there because it's a really cool, building kids thing. And then it broke into Stillborn, which is kind of the Black Label Society hot song of the time. And then that cut into the quiet part of Mama, I'm Coming Home, where I green screened myself with a dog blanket hung over a staircase by a window, and my phone propped on said staircase. And I did an infomercial for EMG pickups because the contest was for EMG. And I was like, I'm Rick Chappell, and these pickups are great. And, I should also mention that I played that guitar in the corner there, the Epiphone Zach Wild Les Paul, because you had to play a EMG-equipped guitar, and that was the only one I had with EMG HZs in it. So then it cuts to me playing the Mama I'm Coming Home solo, which cuts into No More Tears, which was my first concert ever was Ozzy, and that whole experience made me want to play guitar. But the No More Tears solo specifically was the moment in my first concert ever where I was like, that's amazing, and I want to know how to do that. So I did that very sloppily at the age of 15 in the video. And then I forgot about it. I uploaded it. I got some help to film it real quick, and I put it together in iMovie, and then I threw it up. And it wasn't great. The playing's kind of sloppy and everything. It's not the proudest mix either. But I did all of this by myself in a day, and then slammed it out, and forgot all about it for the summer. Or maybe I did in 2 or 3 days, but it wasn't long. Then I went and lived, the rest of the summer, and all of a sudden, one day, I got a comment on my video, I can't believe you came 4th place. You suck. And I was like, that's fucking news to me that I'm 4th place. What? So I scouge over and find the video where they announce the winners, and there's a video on YouTube to this day of Zach Wild sitting there watching me play that bit. In the video, you only see, 5 seconds of me because I'm 4th place. It all builds up to the winner. But just that knowledge that Zach Wild sat there and watched this video that I had created of me playing his songs, one of which was the song in the moment that made me want to play guitar, was huge, man. That was such a massive feeling. I remember getting a lot of pressure put on me by my family at the time that I should do a lot with that. But I don't know what to do with that momentum. There's no momentum for it. I just kept living my life. But I did win a small prize pack that had a copy of Guitar Hero, because that was the hot game at the time. T-shirt, some wristbands. But the best part of the prize pack was a Zach Wild set of EMGs. So the 81, 85 with, some volume knobs and whatnot and an output jack. And that's awesome. I had always wanted an EMG 8185 set. That said, I didn't put it in that Les Paul. I mean, now it may have like an EMG 85 in the bridge, I'm pretty sure. And it has that sticker on it that I won in that contest. But I didn't know how to wire or anything, and I didn't have any money to put the pickups in. Like I said, like later on that month, we were homeless. So you can, not the month, that year, we were homeless. So it's not like I was throwing cash around all the time. But this guitar, eventually I was like, okay, I sanded it down, and I still had those pickups sitting around. So this is the EMG 81 I won in that contest. I wired it to a single volume knob and the output jack because that's all I could understand how to do. It was very simple. There's no soldering, and you just click, 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 and it's done. And it's great. I have used this guitar for years since then. I put locking tuners on it too. The Floyd Rose style bridge in it is like a... it's a real... I should mention it's a real Floyd Rose. I ripped out the Ibanez one. This is a 1984 model Floyd Rose, so it has a huge brass block in the back. But because I'm a caveman, I found a bolt that is about the right size of a tremolo block and threw that in there. So it's actually a hardtail Floyd Rose, and that's one of the most comfortable bridges in the world for me. You can just really get angry with it. I don't want to make that noise through all the echo. But, yeah, very smooth bridge. I use this guitar mainly for tons of stuff, like all kinds of writing and recording. It's on my first demo there, Escape, and it's all over my first good record. My first record that I mixed, to a point of somewhat completion, Black Tie Affair, that came out this year. And halfway through writing that record, though, I replaced this guitar. I don't use this much anymore. I don't sell it because it's not worth that much money. It's a $200 Ibanez that I have a lot of memories with and have since put all kinds of parts into it. So it's, the bridge alone was worth more than the guitar. So I'm not going to get that money back if I sold it. So I keep it, and I use it for alternate tunings and whatnot. Right now it's in drop B. I've used it for open B for many years. But I found a pack of strings at work that I wanted to try out. So they're like the extra B. They're the thickest ones I could grab that had an unwound G. So it's like I think it's like a 64 or something on the bottom. I don't know. I don't remember. But they're cool, and they go chug-a-gug. And they don't go chug-a-gug when you want to play just low-tuned ambience, which is important when you plan on using a guitar for a podcast, where the ambience is your co-host. But yeah, when I replaced this guitar, I replaced it with my Framus Stormbender too. So that was the ever-tuned open C beautiful guitar that I still enjoy very much to this day. That was on the list to talk about, but nowhere near point number 3. But now that we're 20 minutes in, I've stopped talking a mile a minute, I think. I'm just going to add that to the bottom and then mention that I already did it. What else is on our list? Oh yeah, the boss's housewarming with my bad jokes about my family. That was great. The next thing I wanted to talk about was Burger King. What a twist. But the Burger King by me, it all ties into, what's around me for the week. And my neighborhood's shit. So naturally our Burger King is shit. And by shit, I mean, I went there a couple nights ago. And I'm just accustomed to it. I'm going to go get the Whopper. So basically whatever happens to and from is just part of the adventure. So the other day I went to Burger King, and here's the full experience. I leave my apartment. The neighbor apartment building has a couple spots for them to smoke. There's, some tables and chairs over here. There's some tables and chairs over here. And there's a crackhead at one of the tables and chairs. And she may very well live in the building. I don't know, but she's there cracked out. Or not crack, it's heroin this time for sure. And as I'm walking, she's walking ahead of me, and she's doing the full slump, she's barely walking. I make it halfway to Burger King, and I see a guy who's also heroined right out, I guess I should say, against a wall, asleep, possibly dead, fully passed out. And I'm like, this is apocalyptic. So I go to Burger King. The Burger King has no... We'll talk about Burger King after. On the way back, I'm going to cut ahead to the crackhead heroin part of the story again real quick here. On the way back, I see guy still slumped against the door. And the girl, who was, wandering around doing the shoegaze thing, robbing him. She's got her hands in his pockets, and she's like, and I literally walk by, and I laugh. I'm like, are you robbing that guy? And all I see is, get the fuck out of here, get the fuck out of here, get the fuck out of here, get the fuck out of here. Like fucking Gollum. End times, man. End times. No honor among thieves or heroin addicts. I don't know if she wanted his money or his drugs, but it's all going to the same place. Jesus Christ. Back to Burger King. The Burger King is trash also. The Burger King by me has no ice and hasn't had it for a year now. Like, they have a sign that says ice machine broken. And I remember vividly last year that same sign, so I think they're just not fixing it. The more awkward part of that scenario is not only is there no ice, but they don't have a sign letting you know that the drinks are warm. So I remember being like, oh, it's fine. I don't usually put ice in my Pepsi anyways. We'll be good. So I got a Pepsi or Coke or whatever, and then it was like room temperature. And I was like, well, fuck, this is the only time I would put ice in a drink, you bastards. None of the menus work. All the screens are out, and the sign outside just says brownies. No, I don't know what the deal is. I don't know if they're special. I don't know if they have them or not. The sign just says brownies in all capitals, and all the screens are out. So I don't know what the deal is with the brownies. And that's the Burger King, man. I also saw a rat run out of it. So I think I might be done with that Burger King. But there's not a lot of other options nearby me, so I gotta cook food like an adult again, maybe. The brownies sign, though. I literally have in capitals written down here, brownies! I just remember laughing at that. Like, even the person who does the sign doesn't give a fuck anymore. Wild. What's up next here? Work piles of shit. Oh, work piles of shit! Yeah, I thought it was work pile of shirt. Also, in the same neighborhood, there's a dealer of some kind that lives right next door. And their customers camp out overnight because, that's the door they're going to get their hookup. And the other morning, there was like piss jugs everywhere and cardboard and like a bag of duvets and graffiti on the wall that was like, I love Smiley. Here's my phone number. I call the phone number. I'm like, who is this? And they're like, no, you called me. I'm like, no, your number's on my door. Who am I talking to? They're like, oh my God, this is Janet. I'm like, oh fuck, you're the one that lives upstairs. They're like, oh, I'm going to come down and clean it. I go to work tomorrow. I bet it's still not cleaned. It's just, there's rumors about them not living there anymore. And I'll leave it at that. And that'd be pretty cool. Oh, speaking of which, her phone number is 673-672-0018. If you're watching this and can do anything nefarious with it, go bananas. Especially if you're a black guy who loves to fuck good, come on over. Homie on out. 673-672-0018. Try it out. It's a podcast reference for all you real podcast fans. The other podcast reference I'm going to make here, because we're 28 minutes in. So if you've made it all 28 minutes in, I'm going to assume you're a fan or skipping randomly and you got lucky. But this is the part where I talk about the other thing I've learned from podcasts lately. And by learn from, I mean falling for the advertising. No, I didn't buy a Manscaped. No, I'm not doing chew or testosterone pills. But online therapy's starting to sound pretty good, folks. Because this fucking end time shit is getting to me. Again, I tried therapy in person during the pandemic once. Like, once again, I've done it over my life. I've tried it once or twice. But during the pandemic, I had some coworkers reach out and be like, go see this person, dude. You're not doing great. And I was like, you're right. So I went to see the person, and they're like, here's some drugs. And I was like, I don't like drugs. Drugs are part of why I think I'm in therapy. And they're like, well, if you don't like the drugs, just try the drug and then, don't take it again. And I was like, I don't think you understand what I just said to you. And it turns out he really didn't. So the point I'm hoping to reach with online therapy is that they don't sell drugs. Or at least I can make it very clear that I'm not going to take them right away. And that's not my initial fix. It was suggested at one point by that same guy. I mean, I had 2 sessions with this guy and he was ready to give me drugs. Which also in and of itself, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that meant it was so painfully obvious or I just got pill pusher vibes, you know? I always get pusher vibes, though. So maybe that's part of the problem, yo. Shouldn't get too personal about that, should I? Too bad. Anyways, we're signing up for BetterHelp. So maybe one day there'll be a sponsor and my podcast will be worth tons of money. But till then, there's your shameless plug that I just spent my own money for it. So therapy is expensive, which bothers me on like a serious level. Because it's like the people that need it don't have money. It seems so obvious to me. So to pay to fix it is just like this self-defeating thing where if you try to pay for it but you can't afford it, you'll probably make your life worse. And I don't know. That's been one of the many things that have made me go in and out of it in the past. But here's hoping, right? That, you know, can't be a bad idea. And yeah, today we signed on up. So we'll see where we go from there. Part of why I signed up is because of the next thing I want to talk about, which is the fact that I have no album progress to update you on. I still am on schedule, I believe, to have it done by the end of the year, technically. But since the last episode, and I think the episode before that one, I haven't opened the songs. I haven't worked on my album at all. So that doesn't make me happy, but I also haven't wanted to work on it, so I haven't worked on it. So that's been my choice the whole way. I hit a snag with recording strings just because my car broke down and I couldn't quite get to one of the appointments I had for that. But that's fine. The guy's coming to me probably next week, and that's going to keep moving. Oh, there's that beautiful sound this guitar makes sometimes. But I think the main mental block I've hit with it, and one of the things we'll talk about with BetterHelp probably, is when I put pressure on any of the songs, I fold, and I don't want to do it. So the songs that the part I'm working on this month was the synthesizers and the extra sort of layers and getting all the songs ready for me to sing this month, which is now October. I didn't finish it in time, though. But I finished a bunch of songs with that, and then I didn't finish a bunch of them. But the ones I didn't finish are the ones I put pressure on in my own head. And like I said, I fold under that. So I'm trying to figure out why I applied that pressure to them, because it's not that I think they're the best songs on the album, though I definitely think there's some, maybe the stronger ones, and that's part of it. But they're also just, I don't know, if I look at the list, like one of them is about my grandpa that passed away, and I think I've been kind of avoiding dealing with that, and doing the music is my way of dealing with it. So by not doing the music, I'm definitely just avoiding it. Like you got to call a spade on that one. And then some of the other song is like from before the pandemic, so maybe part of me just doesn't even want to finish it. The other one's the grand finale, so that's a lot of pressure. Another one has a guest singer who I'm just afraid to work with. It's Annika Van Giersbergen. She's already done her part. It's amazing. There's nothing to be fearful of, but I'm afraid to live up to her, quality. And then another one of them is another two of them are about some pretty serious relationships I was in. Or I guess they weren't all that serious, but to me they were. And the songs are turning out quite well, so there's pressure on me, I feel, to... If the relationships have only, the only fruit to bear from that relationship was these two songs, or those two relationships is these two songs, I should say, I better get the fucking songs right, because otherwise it was really for nothing. Which, by saying it out loud, you realize isn't true. You live and learn. I still have the experiences. But I'm trying to really document those experiences into these pieces. So that's the pressure. There you go. There's the unexplainable fucking walls in your head. I was going to talk about the graffiti. I already mentioned that. That's the good old... and the robbing the robbers. These 2 points were the same. All the end times shit. Oh my God, we still have 33 minutes to go. There's been no Kevin. I've been talking fast. I'm getting warm. It's because of the dang old darn old video lights. Let's bring back the ambient guitar, and hopefully that'll slow the brain down. That is my initial reason for playing guitar during the podcast. It's not just because Devin Townsend did it, and he does as well. If you do happen to listen to both my podcast and the one he did a while back, I think he plays guitar during his, but it doesn't sound anything like this. His ambience is a lot more ambient. But he's him and I'm me. And we sound pretty alike, apparently. But not exactly the same, thank God. I would be blessed to have the amount of talent that man does, but I don't think anybody is asking for a second Devin Townsend. So I should probably focus on being the first me. There you go. Devin Townsend is the one that made me discover OpenC tuning and whatnot, though, and I will continue to write in that because he doesn't have no patent on it, and I love it. It's just a really useful tuning. Part of me wants to, I'm just gonna do it right now. I was gonna say, part of me wants to put this guitar in open B right now while we're doing this because it's kind of close. Open B and drop B share the same bottom 3 strings, so it's really just your high ones. And for ambient music, or ambient sounds even, the open notes just sound really good. So I'm breaking my cardinal rule of tuning in front of people, whether it be on stage or on camera, because nobody ever deserves to see somebody tune, I feel. Especially, like, I don't know, I go to an open mic sometimes and somebody steps on a tuner when they get on stage, and I'm like, you were just off stage for the fucking whole night. Why didn't you tune then? Why do you make us watch you tune? Especially when it's somebody who's, like, supposed to be good. Just, infuriates me. So, there you go. It's the pot calling the kettle, that one, because I just did it. But we were kind of quick about it. What else can I talk about this week? We've got, I've changed some of the lighting around in here again, as always. There's a lamp over there. That's the obvious change. I also got a key light in kind of that corner now, so you can see that I hopefully have a little more backlight, shadow, and whatnot. We're on episode 11, and the lighting's been different most of the times. It hasn't been all that consistent. Speaking of which, just noticed that wasn't pointed at me very well. Live and learn. One of the better lights I had in the past was in the corner. There was something way up high pointed down at my back, and that gave me a great hair light and stuff. But it took up a lot of floor space and a corner space back there, so I don't have that light going anymore. I thought about doing it again, but we'll see. Knowing me, I have this thing where when I complete a video, I then have, when I shoot a video, I then have to edit it. And in the editing process, if I shoot it in here, let's say, I'm also probably editing in here. And then while I'm editing, I'm looking at that frame, tons and tons and tons, and dissecting it. So a lot of the time, like, right now, this doesn't bother me at all. If I watch this podcast back, I'm going to be like, why is that Mountain Dew bottle there? Move it. And things of that nature, whether there's a sock on the couch or whatever, those little things. But also, I tend to, like with Wake Me Up When September Ends, when I've shot the room from multiple angles and whatnot, I get the urge to change the room. I don't know what it is, but I'm just like, okay, that happened. That's how it was. Change. So I've gotten better with having things that are movable, so I don't have to, really spend too much time. I can just do a quick, Lego reorganization, move 2 lamps and call it a day, and that changes the vibe enough for me, I've found. But I always need to do that. I don't quite know what it is. One of the other changes I made that I can see and I wanted to talk about, I wanted to show you, actually, I should say, was I bought a guitar pedal this week, but it doesn't work, so I have to return it. It's brand new and just defective. I'm not going to say the company and the brand to shit talk them, but I have had a couple warranty issues with them lately, so I'm not stoked on that. That said, I'm just going to swap it for another brand new one and hope it works, because I just got a dud, and that can happen to any company and anybody, right? So, no hating. But the compressor pedal I bought didn't work, so there's supposed to be a red little box back there, but you can't see it, because it's already gone. It's my backpack waiting to be returned. That's part of the... Okay, so not to shit talk that pedal company, but that's part of why I don't use a lot of guitar pedals, is I find it's just... I may have a very convoluted signal chain with a few guitar pedals now even, but every piece of the puzzle to me, and this might be a therapy thing again, every piece you add is just a potential thing to go wrong. The easiest way to record guitar, the most trustworthy way, would be one cable plugged right into your computer. It's... Nothing can break if nothing's in between it. That said, I don't use guitar pedals at all with my Axe effects on the way in. I do have now in this crazy echo sound we've talked about. There's 2 guitar pedals just to make that go on forever swell. It's a line 6 ping pong delay set to like crazy long, almost oscillation, which is feeding into a Boss Space Echo, which is just adding more reverb, more echo, and some tape saturation. And the 2 of those together really just make for a pretty infinite type delay. So, yeah. The other guitar pedals I have back there, I should explain, are for my amp. I do plug into that 1980s Mesa Boogie Mark III back there. If I can spin the right way to point it out. The Bambo, the Crunchberry amp I love so much. It's sitting currently on top of a 1980s or 70s, I think, Marshall cabinet that I can turn on. It's on an A/B switch, but I'll record that amp. I record that amp with a 2 Notes Captor X, which is also hiding right beside it there. And because of that, I don't need to turn that amp down at all. Like, it's fully cranked in this apartment building when I want to use it. And there's no noise. I can play it in headphones. Like, it's only coming out my speakers kind of thing, which is super useful. Hey, Kev, you gonna come up on the table? I don't know if you saw her creep in there. She's always a little void right until she hops. Part of why I've lit this place up so well is to try to spot the little black kitten. Just realized I'm wearing tons of black this week too, so we'll see just how visible we are as a team. Aw, rubbing up against my foot. Any other stories I can tell about this guitar? I mean, oh yeah, I may as well. So the tape up there is super shiny, as you can see. It's dryer duct tape, or duct, or dryer vent. I don't know. It's aluminum tape that you use for dryers. And I found a roll of it when I was a kid that I put all over my one guitar because it made it shiny. But I also realized that it peels off with no residue. So like I put it on one little piece, and then I started putting on all of my guitars would have like a little shiny bit or whatever, because there's a cheap roll of tape I found that you could do stuff with. I would cut designs out of it and put them down. Like, it was kind of easy to work with and fun. This is the only guitar left that has any tape on it. But at one point, I had done the whole face of it. My girlfriend at the time had drawn all over it. And then I pulled that off because I do like the natural wood look of it. But I left the headstock because it looks kind of cool. And there's still the remnants of a drawing that she did from way back when. Probably the only thing I have from that period of time still. And the one cool thing is when I put the tuners on it and tightened them down, it pulled all the tape and made it swivel. And so, I don't know, there's just cool effects in it. It's cool to me that this thing's been around as long as it has. And it's definitely aged up with me a little bit. It's got some dents, it's got some bruises. And it plays better than it should. Like, it has no right to be as sturdy of a machine. Oh, the other thing I should talk about, man, I'm just flying through, is it's a triple pickup guitar, but only the EMG 81 works. I left the neck pickup in just for the looks of it, but the middle pickup is gone, but there's still the route. So I can pick super aggressive with this. Not only I don't have to worry about hitting the middle pickup, but I don't have to worry about hitting the body. Like, I'll actually scoop right underneath the strings on this one. It was something I developed right into my technique earlier, and then playing other guitars, I kind of had to unlearn it sometimes, but when I go back to this guitar, I do enjoy that about it. Les Pauls can do it similarly too with the carved top, I've noticed, but not all Ibanez RGs could do that if they didn't have the big old hole in the middle. So that's a function feature of this guitar I quite enjoy, that I kind of customized. I guess in a way this is sort of my, Frankenstrat. I've got the Eddie Van Halen back there. It's a single humbucker in the bridge, a dummy neck pickup, and a single volume with a Floyd Rose on it. But this one's not got stripes, so there you go, Eddie. That's a great guitar, though. I really enjoy that one. I'm very glad I have it. It was the last guitar I bought before I worked at the music store, so I paid full price like a dummy. But I told the story about it during that podcast, but I got that one right before I had a bunch of dental surgery. Like, I have a bunch of dental implants, so it's not just a dentist trip, it's surgery, and it's a whole time. So I was off work for like a week just laying in bed recovering. And I got that right before. So I just laid in bed and played Van Halen licks. So, and you didn't notice when I bled on it because it was red. So that was cool. I found a picture the other day because, your phone will show memories. So gross. I remember it vividly, but I guess I took a picture just in case I forgot. The morning after one of the surgeries, I think it was because you have teeth removed and bone added, and then you have implants put in, and then you have there's like 3 surgeries, whatever they were. And the one where they put the studs in, I think it was, I woke up the next morning and all my sheets just had spatterings of blood all over them. Like I had these nice blue linen sheets, like baby blue. And it just looked like I got punched it looked like I got the shit beat out of me in the middle of the night. Like or I don't know if I coughed or sneezed or something, but it was just, that's all. We'll stop talking about it now because it's pretty gross. But the photo makes me laugh. Because if you don't laugh, it's just sad. That's our catchphrase. Hey, kitty. Come on up. Every episode, she has to get on the table at least once. That's going to become a rule. Come on. Bloop. Hey, Kevy. What do you have to say to the peeps this week? I have no real updates with her. She's still growing. She's just over a year old now. Isn't that right, Kev Meister? You want to come up for some backwards snuggles? Here, hop on the shoulder. Usually I just throw her behind me there, but I couldn't because of the microphone arm. She loves being on my neck like this, but not so much when I have headphones on. So we'll see if that'll, aw. You may even be able to hear her purr if she gets right up in that microphone. I can't hear my guitar with the headphones off, but who cares? Oh, there's some claws in the neck. There are some claws in the neck. It's so cute. I don't want to stop her, but god damn, is it a little bit painful? Hey bear. Oh. There's your weekly dose of Kevin, folks. What's frustrating is I have the photos from this time last year. So I got Kevin in September last year, early September. And then around this time, about a month in, she let me pet her. Like, it took a whole month of, like, I would fall asleep and I'd wake up to her touching my hand. And that was how I knew I had a cat. Like, she was hiding. She was such a little fraidy cat. But then the second month, she kind of started cuddling me and, became my kitty. But looking back on it, she was so much more affectionate this time last year. Like, I don't know if she's hit her terrible twos of being a cat, if they happen when you're 1. But the zoomies are up, the chaos is up, the bites are up. I'll get like bit on the earlobes. If my feet are out of the bed, she's, nibbling my toes off. She's getting aggressive. And I'm getting none of the cuddles anymore. Or like, not near the amount. I used to wake up with her laying across my neck or, all that real cute kitten stuff. Now she's just a little hellraiser. So I'm hoping it's a terrible twos thing. I'm going to get a cuddly kitten back here, but till then, man, I'm on alert. I got a little panther living in this house. But what an adorable little panther. I would totally buy a panther if it wouldn't make me like Joe Exotic. Because, big cat people are messed up. What else what's new in the media I can talk about? In the media. There's a political thing going on in Canada. I'm not one for politics. I had a buddy once who started a political podcast, and it was not the beginning of, but it definitely marked his downfall into insanity. Let's put it that way. And I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. But there was a thing about, I can't even say the word on YouTube. An army that was defeated in the Second World War had a soldier that was honored in Canadian Parliament. And it was just wild. It was a mistake. People have quit their jobs since. But like, it was a jaw-dropping moment, which rarely happens for me in politics because I don't watch politics or care enough to have my jaw hit the floor. But man, talking about World War II veterans, there's only, well, let's put it this way. There's a clear good and bad side to that history book, folks. And if you're on the wrong team of that one, I still wish you nothing but pain. So there you go. Moving on from that, because let's not get too charged over something I have nothing to do with personally. I know I should tell the story, actually, because it's the 10 minutes left, and it's why I care a little bit more about that. I'm not of Jewish faith or Jewish ancestry. I do have some relatives on one side of my family that were. I don't know quite how seriously or how far back it goes, or if the war had much to do with their living situation or anything, or migrant situation, you know. I think my family came over here long before the Second World War on that side, so that's cool and good for them. But when I was in high school, the same year actually as the homelessness and all this, I went on a trip to Europe, which might sound weird because it's an odd use of funds when actually, to put it bluntly, my grandmother paid for that one. It was a school trip, so she had no problem paying for it. Like, it felt good to her to do. And then my mother was jealous that I got to go to Europe, so she booked another trip for her and me that she paid for. And I think that's what put us out of pocket so much that we became homeless. But to each their own. So whatever happened then was many moons ago. But the trip for high school, when I went over with some friends and whatnot, was a much more educational, better time. And one of the things we did like a Germany, Italy, Switzerland, Austria, a little 10-day loop of Europe there. It was beautiful, a lot of time on a bus, but it's gorgeous. One of the days, though, was a trip to a concentration camp, because that's an important visit, I believe. At the time, I had no say in it. It was just a thing we were going to do, so I did it. And we hadn't studied World War II too much in school yet. Like, I knew what it was, and I knew what concentration camps were and everything. I knew where we were going. But I had never studied it. I'd never had a history book about it. And it's brutal. There's no secret about that. There's no shocker there. But that visit was extremely heavy and emotionally draining. That night I got drugged by my friend too, so that was really, really awkward. But that was a heavy day. Let's put it that way. And that visit to a camp like that made such an impression on me that when we came back, it actually was time to learn about that. Ironically enough, it was after spring break, and that was when that unit was going to begin in a different, totally unrelated class I had. And I remember the teacher, who was so wonderful, Miss St. Hilaire, one of the best teachers I've ever had in my life, top 5 for sure. She had known that I had just had this visit, and I think she knew a little bit more about my life that was going on at the time as well. But she made it clear, Kevin, don't attack the mallets. Kittens, man. She had made it very clear that if the unit made me uncomfortable, I could leave. Because what happened, the big triggers would be like, we would read about this, and the facts aren't new, and I had just learned about them, so it wasn't even too hard to read there. But then you flip the page of the textbook, and there's that pile of bodies, and then it's like, I was just there. I just saw that photo, and I was standing there. And when those things hit, it's a lot, to bring it back to the beginning of this episode. I talked about wake me up when September ends, when art or documents or photographs or music reference something that feels very real and close to your life, it hits you very hard. And that's the point of it and the beauty of art and creation and documents and photographs and music and all that. But sometimes, man, it's a little much. So that unit in high school was difficult, but thankfully that teacher kind of excused me from it and figured the education I had gotten on it was enough, which I definitely agree with. And if everybody could afford to do a trip somewhere like that and visit it, I think they should, because, oh, hey, kitty cat. It's a transformative, very important human experience. That said, God damn, it sucks. What a way to close the last couple minutes of the podcast here. I haven't had an episode that goes over an hour in weeks now, or months. Maybe this will be the one. Likely it won't. We're coming up on the last 5 minutes or so here, I bet. I have nothing else written down to talk about. Like I said, we've been slow on album progress, and the only musical thing I've done was that Wake Me Up When September Ends thing really this month. I did some background stuff for, 3 of the 10 or 11 songs for the record, but to be honest, I did those in the first couple days of the month and then didn't touch them for the rest. So basically my one project this month was Wake Me Up When September Ends. So at least I did it before September ended. Kevin's also getting pissed because you can't quite see, but my computer is up off of my desktop on a little riser, and on that riser, as you can see, there's my synths and everything, and Kevin, as you just saw her tail go, climbs up the riser and used to sleep behind my synth or behind my audio interface or anywhere she fit, but she's growing, so she doesn't fit everywhere anymore. And right now she's trying to find another spot. That might work. I got to put a cat bed somewhere in frame for her. But the last spot that she found and loved is right underneath the camera, which I love because, hey, I can make eye contact with the camera or look like I'm making eye contact with the camera and be looking at my cat, which I'd much rather do. Okay, this is good. Yeah, her new spot seems to be behind the camera. And part of the reason, oh, don't do it, why that's such a good thing is because the old spot she had that she's trying to squeeze herself into right now usually involves her tail or some other appendage of her getting in the way of the lens, which if she sticks it up right now, it absolutely will. But you're growing, kitten, and you don't fit all those places. I also had to put a tambourine where she usually goes because that spot always had her in the camera. She's so cute, though, trying to fit. Like, it's starting to be that thing where she's trying to fit her. You know, there's a video I saw of like a dog who grew up too big to fit in his ledge that he sat in. And it's so sad, but it's so cute. And, yeah, that's where she's at right now. So it looks like any minute now she's going to... oh, no, she fell. It looked like she was going to slam my laptop closed and probably end the podcast. But instead, she gave up on that spot. Just like, you know what? We're going to give up, I think, on episode 11 here. It's been fun, but it's fizzling out quickly. So, as the ambience builds back up, we will talk about all the things I need to plug, which is my old record, last record, slightly new record, Black Tie Affair, which came out January of this year. I have like 10, maybe 5 or 8 copies left of the actual CD. So buy those on my website if you like. I have put together, finally, the audio and the artwork for another pressing of them. So it's not too pressing that you buy one of these 5 if I'm being a terrible salesman. I'm petting the cat back there. You can't see, but it's real cute. And she just nibbled on my finger. Okay, I gotta feed this animal. I think that's part of why the podcast is ending. But go check out my old record. Get hyped for my new one as I try to get myself hyped enough to get back to working on it. I've been Rick Chappell. You've been a wonderful audience. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you have, that's your way to do podcasts. That's perfectly cool too. If you watched it, cool. Put a lot of effort into the lighting. If you listened to it, cool. Put a lot of effort into the compression and the sound. That said, this has been fun. I've been Rick, and goodbye.